Thank you for joining us today. Anything you hear in this podcast is not to be taken for medical advice. This podcast is for information purposes only, and should you find something interesting in the information spoken about, please consult your physician further.
Welcome your presence here, and we welcome you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Awesome. Get my hat back on. Bet my hair looks great. Hello, and welcome to the Broken Road Podcast. I'm your host, Trent Peterson. I got a special guest, Jake Freels, with me today. Thanks for joining me.
Man, I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah.
So glad.
I could tell a lot about his story just from research, but I'm going to let him kind of get started and tell us a little bit about yourself. A lot of people have had questions on where I'm going with this podcast. And I think today will be a good explanation kind of what we're going to do through your story. And I'm really excited to get that out, and I hope we can help some people.
Man, me too. And I just remember the first second I heard Broken Road, I was like, I want on that podcast as fast as I can get on there, because if anybody's got a broken story, it's mine.
Right.
And I just believe that God works through brokenness.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, he for sure did me. Took me right where I was well broken. He said, "Hey, we're gonna reinvent this whole deal." And he's had me in his hand the whole time, but I just didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't realize till I was fully broken.
Oh man, me too. And I think that's the beauty of it all. One, just in multiple different facets of brokenness, right? I mean, there's times I thought I was broken, right? And I think it's this perpetual journey of like, what does brokenness really mean? And I think brokenness really mean, when you break it down, is just, are you dependent upon Jesus? Like, are you dependent upon him when everything goes away, when our strength goes away, when our pride goes away, when our self-sufficiency goes away, specifically as men? And are you broken? And in my story, I have experienced that on so many levels. And so, just bits and pieces through my story, it's so fun that we're shooting this in Stephenville, Texas, because, it's right here where all my brokenness began. You growing up in a family that was full of fun, faith, hope, is like living in the most utopic family you could live in, and, my dad being a really just solid figure for me is someone who loved people really well and took care of those around him as a dentist and as a pastor, deacon, all the things, started a church, planted a church. And in the middle of all that, my dad had a real deep heart for men and young men, and we had men and young men in our home, to the hundreds at times. And watching God do things as a little boy, I would have known, like, if you were to ask me, is this church? And I would have said no. I'd have said, this is my home. Right. But it was church on a level that I had no idea in the context of what my dad was actually establishing. And so, one of the things that was so fun for me was in that environment and growing up in that environment. I'm the youngest of four. My brothers and sisters are all way older than me. They're my oldest brother, Shane, is 11 and a half years older than me. My next brother, Corey, is 10 and a half years older than me. My sister's 7 years older than me. So,
are they all, well, I know you said your sister's in Houston. Are the rest of them?
She's in the Woodlands. Corey's in the Woodlands, and Shane has moved back to Stephenville, now lives in Granbury.
Okay.
So,
well, don't go to Houston. You can stay right there.
I moved down there for a while, and man,
yeah, you got to have some thick skin.
You better have some thick skin, but more than that, you better have 3 changes of clothes because it's so humid.
Yeah, that's probably the worst part of it.
It's so humid. Yeah. All I bought was dry fit clothes when I moved down there. Like, I would not dare wear all black.
No.
Nor would I wear a felt cowboy hat.
That's
because I would be suffocating, every day. So I'm thankful to live back up here where it's a little bit less humid, but the journey in all of it was, when you grow up 7 years off your next sibling, they say you grow up like an only child. And I didn't understand that. So I had the dualistic, I'm the baby of the family, but I grew up like an only child. So I have both syndromes of the firstborn and the lastborn. And so, I'm a mess.
Right.
I'm a freaking mess, man. And so you almost feel like you're chameleon. I've been a chameleon for so long. I can run.
I can totally understand that.
I can run in both. I can run in both frames. I can run as the lastborn, and I can submit to the lastborn lifestyle, and I can run as the firstborn. And those are two totally different styles of living.
I think that helps you float in a men's ministry, though, really well.
Yeah.
I've mentioned it quite a bit. I've talked to quite a few people, and I feel like that's something that kind of gets lost sometimes in the mix. And there's guys that get lost in the mix because they cannot relate.
Correct.
So I think being able to relate, unfortunately, takes some brokenness,
Yeah.
and there's some experience in there that gets it. But yeah, I like that you mentioned the chameleon. I've said that myself.
Yeah.
Felt that way from time to time. I think that's legitimate.
Yeah. Well, and too, like a chameleon, even to the point of like, I've worn motocross stuff, I've worn cowboy stuff, I've worn city slicker stuff, I've worn all the different clothing and styles to reach the people I'm with at times, Mm-hmm. And when I go back to the core essence and reality of who I am, who I am is not what I wear. Who I am is who is inside of me. Right. So I can wear anything. I could go change and go put on surfer gear and go hang out with my surfer friends, and be okay wearing surfer gear, whatever. But in all of it, I think there's this understanding for me of when, I wear this belt buckle all the time. This is my dad's first memorial buckle. Okay, so when we had his team roping, and my dad, we went and roped together. We always team rope as a family. So I grew up in the arena my whole life early on, and my mom nearly had me in the arena. She was like, oh, yeah, let me tell you one time, I went into labor. You're going to be birthed in the arena, And so I, genuinely did. My dad, we had all these horses and just I grew up on a horse a lot, and I loved it. And one of the things is all my older brothers and sisters. Well, my brothers necessarily, my sister didn't rope it same like we all did. She did the play day stuff and different things, but we would go to the Booger Barters and the Bud Lights and all the different rope-ins that were around all the time. And, I was always young, and they were always the ones roping, and I would be hustling kids on roping dummies all the time.
Right.
That's some of the funnest times of my life, making money on the side, hustling kids.
Yeah,
man, I got my side hustle going on as a little kid. So we do the reach contests, we do all kinds of stuff. But anyways, we get to go to Granbury at the Pines. There's a roping arena called the Pines off 144. And we go there to rope, and it's my first time getting to rope with my dad.
Oh, wow.
And it's like the crescendo. Like, I've been waiting on this day for 9 years. I get to rope with my dad,
You get
finally.
to show your stuff.
Like I meant to go down there, and I'm fixing to duel that sucker on the corner, and we're going to go to town.
That's right.
And sure enough, first steer out, and I can still remember it like it plays in a movie reel in my mind. I look over at my dad. He's in the head box. I'm on heels. He nods and looks at me like, you ready? And I'm like, yeah, buddy, I'm ready. And boom, we take off. I come around the corner, rope him, and I'm like, we're doing it.
Right.
I'm getting to do it. Like, I'm getting to do the thing, and it's my turn to get to, go out with my dad and rope. And so anyways, second steer comes around. My dad just whiffs him, totally misses him, And my day's done. In team roping, you miss, you're out, right? So then I, get off my horse, and I had a horse, his name was Shorty, and, he's just a great little sorrel horse or bay horse, I think, if I remember right, but, go put him up at the trailer, and of course, what I do, I go over to the roping dummy, and I go start hustling kids on the roping dummy. And, betting them $5 here, $5 there. I bet I can rope it from here, stand back 30 foot, throw my whole rope, kind of deal. And it just have a blast. And My brothers end up going on to win the roping that night. And we get in the truck like normal, 11:30, 12 o'clock at night.
Big night for the family.
Big night for the family. This is a normal occurrence for us to just, as a family, we spent the whole day together. My sister didn't go. She stayed home. So we get in the truck, 11:30 at night, midnight, whatever it was. And we're exhausted. We've been roping all day. And we had a Ford four-door truck with bench seats. This is back when, there was no middle seat, Right. And so, my dad's driving, my mom's in the middle. I'm laying on her lap asleep at 9 years old. My two older brothers are in the back seat behind me. And I go to sleep in like utopia. It's the greatest moment of my life. And up to my 9-year-old self. And the next thing I know, a young kid who's broken, committing suicide, turns off his headlights, driving at 100 miles an hour, excess of 100 miles an hour is what they say, and hits us head on. And the next thing I know is I wake up and the windshield shattered. There's flames coming, and I'm sitting in the front seat. But I couldn't have been where I was sitting. My body, I was told, was either hanging out the back window or I was out the back window, not sure where I was. And I look at my mom, my dad, they're flawless, picture perfect, no cuts, no blood. I look at my brothers, no cuts, no blood. And it's just like, what is going on? I have no idea what's happening. Next thing I know, a guy picks me up, carries me, and lays me on the side of the road. And they put a neck brace on me. Mm-hmm. My lips are cut, my face is cut, my legs broke. And I'm just laying there. And the next thing I know, the trailer's shaking. The horses are rattling the trailer. And in all of it, I then get picked up and flown in a helicopter to Children's Hospital in Fort Worth. Mm-hmm. And go to sleep after they set my leg, fix my face. And I wake up, and when I wake up the next morning, my room's full of my brother's football team. And I'm like, why are you guys all here? And the next thing I know, my brother wheels me down to my mom, and she's bandaged from head to toe. All I can see is her eyes. There's hundreds of people in the hospital. And my uncle pulls me aside. He goes, "Hey, partner, I need to let you know, your dad didn't make it last night. He died." And just immediately woo, what is going on?
I'm looking at that makes me think of River. He's 8 years old, so I can kind of imagine what that moment. I mean, I really can't imagine, but the best I can imagine is thinking him going through that moment, and that's huge.
It was
unreal.
Unreal.
Yeah.
It's unreal. And, I'm looking at my mom who's completely bandaged, and they wheel me out of there and wheel me into my brother's room, and he's in a coma. His head's split from the middle of his eyebrow here to like the back of his head. Mm-hmm. They said they'd revived him numerous times. And my utopia family was gone like that. Mm-hmm. My life as I knew it was gone like that. And I enter into chaos.
Yeah, I mean, you experienced, they're finally admitting it, but I mean, that's a major trauma.
Major.
And PTSD there, there's no doubt that you experienced that all in one very quick, immediate, life-changing moment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And so I didn't realize, I would have never said PTSD because I would always say, well, I never went to war. And right. I mean, right. It just gets stigmatized as PTSD is directly involved with war, which obviously it is at a very high level.
For sure.
But I then became addicted to porn, became addicted to alcohol, became addicted to anger, perfection, overworking, workaholic, like
things you felt like you could control.
Everything you can control. And I went so narcissistic in all my tendencies because I had to begin to take care of me, and so I knew one thing, and that one thing was I was really good at whatever I did. And if I could outperform everybody around me, I would outperform everybody around me, because that's where my validation, that's where my, my security came from. That's where my hope came from. And so, I just remember, early on throughout all the different iterations of my life, I got involved with so much stuff of sexual molestation in the middle of all this. Older women, younger women. I'm talking as a young kid. Like I'm talking all kinds of stuff started happening.
I appreciate you being honest on that, because I think there's a lot of men that's happened to, and it's becoming more men are talking about it now. But man, that's been a dark place for a long time.
Yep.
We know that women deal with that trauma a lot as well.
Yeah.
No matter how you look at it, it's awful.
Yep.
But I appreciate you sharing that, because that's something that does get overlooked, and I think men are very well broken too.
Yep.
And there's a lot of weight on our shoulders to always be have it together for our families, have it together for everything that's around us.
Yep.
And it's not acceptable to show weakness.
Yep. Yep.
And none of those things, I think, portray the things that we need to be as men.
Yeah. 100%.
Anyways, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
No.
thank you for sharing that.
No, it's there's everything in there that, I think we don't understand how much this stuff really affects us. And I went into, same sex, stuff that happened to me as well. Just all kinds of stuff. I have a laundry list of stuff that gets really deep and really far, and trauma that goes to the core of who I am. And I had no idea it was shaping everything about me.
Right.
I thought I was just the Billy Badass, and, but it was actually the trauma that was running my life.
Absolutely.
It was running everything about me. I'd win another trophy, and I'd break another record, and, sleep with another girl or whatever that is, all the things. And I'm just thinking it's just another notch on the belt of I'm becoming that man, right? Or getting fist fights and beat kids up.
Building your kingdom.
Yes, or whatever that is. And I'm just living into what I think a man is.
Right.
Right. And I'm just going to live out of trauma and dysfunction and PTSD at the highest level and not call it what it is, because I don't know what it is.
Just to jump back real quick, because I know you lost your father, but the last thing you said was that your mom was bandaged up. So did she also survive the accident?
She did, and my brother did too. And my mom is probably tougher than any man I know.
Mom, I want to make sure we give her credit. That's why I wanted to kind of jump back to that.
My mom is who I became, because my mom literally, when I say she rearranged her face, broke her teeth were pushed back in her mouth. She grabs her own teeth and pulls her teeth out. Breaks her back, shatters her leg because the engine's on her leg.
Oh, wow.
My mom was an alternate for the 68 Olympics. She was an incredible athlete, that kind of person, go-getter, self-starter, all the things. And I, in the middle of all this, my brothers and my sisters and all of them became extremely highly effective and great at what they did. Like, every one of them can be like, I want to go climb a mountain, and then, I want to climb Everest National, whatever it is, they'll say they do it, they'll do it. Every one of them will do it. And so that's the environment that I was in as a family, was like, nothing's impossible. And so my mom, I watched her, to deal with her pain and to cope with her pain. She literally would put an air cast on her leg and lace her boots up so tight to hold her bones in place after her surgeries and stuff.
Wow.
Get on a horse and go make the top 15 of the national finals for women's rodeo.
And she probably needed that to fill some space as well.
100%.
To not deal with the trauma that she was most definitely dealing with as well. And then she was left to be the leader for the family.
Yes.
Once your dad was not there.
Yes.
But she obviously was prepared to take that spot when it had to, as a strong woman. But that's a lot of weight, really quick.
More weight than I could ever understand. To lose your husband, lose your body, your sons are, completely broken. And there was other men that came around to help her. And Scotty Chu, who gave me this buckle. Do you know Scotty Chu?
Well, I did.
You did, yeah.
I did.
Yeah. And Scotty was really, really, really close to me. And Scotty helped.
I only met him once. But he was in the circle of people that I knew. So,
yeah. And Scotty lived on our property.
Wow.
And
that's crazy. I wouldn't have expected I was going to hear that name today.
Yep. And he gave me this buckle. He won the roping that day on my dad's memorial. And he said, I want you to have this buckle. And, he wasn't perfect by any stretch of imaginations. He was an undercover narcotics cop. Mm-hmm. And that man would take me hunting. He would take me fishing. He loved on me. And, ultimately lost his life. Mm-hmm. And I lost another father figure 4 years down the road, or no, I was in high school when that happened. I was actually in SAC. I had gotten put in SAC in school, which is when you get put with, you do bad stuff or whatever, and you get put in the detention or whatever. And I get a phone call that he died. And it was suspected that he took his own life. Yeah. And again, brokenness that took another man too soon. My dad went too soon. That kid committing suicide. Scotty went too soon. Again, another level of trauma. Yeah. That all I know how to do is stuff it and run. Yeah. Just get my hands on something and get running.
And the enemy is just looking for little bitty things like that to grab and take you down that way. That's a ploy.
Yep. Yep. And
it's awful.
Yep. And so again, all I know how to do is to create as much control that I can control. And the biggest thing for me with that time was football. I grew up in the football town. Stephenville's the football town, and I was that guy that was on the front of the newspaper most days from whatever it was. Either that's the guy that's going to help lead us to the next deal, or he's the up-and-coming star, in whatever it was.
And you obviously were really good at catching, because I did see a podcast where you caught something out of the side of your... I just said lighten it up for a little bit. That was pretty cool. I mean, it's like, I look at the lightning reflexes, wax on, wax off. I mean, catch a fly with some chopsticks kind of deal. You just were like, yeah, I got you, bro. I got you.
Yeah, I did. And the funny thing was I had the best hands on the team.
Yeah.
And so I was kickoff returner, punt returner, wide receiver, free safety,
you got a lot of action.
I never left the field.
Yeah.
And that was a good thing and a bad thing, because I was exhausted, But anyways, in all of it, what ended up leading me to my ultimate demise of a 19-year-old boy was at 18, I got my inheritance from my dad. It's $30,000. Not that much money, but hey, 18, 19 years ago, there's a lot of money.
It was, really.
And my mom, thank God, she helped me do real estate and taught me how to buy real estate. She had become a realtor at the time. And she went down and we picked out 2 houses next to Tarleton State University. Bought one for $22,000 and bought one for $42,000. And taught me how to leverage the money and remodel them. Yeah. And we remodeled them, and I became a landlord at 18 years old.
What a great investment.
What a great investment. Yeah. And ended up paying for my college at times, all through college. I mean, my mom also worked alongside me to do that, but it gave me money to spend, to do things, to help people. And I also selfishly bought a brand new Ford F-250 and the dumbest thing. I remember my brother, actually, we're sitting in the bedroom with my mom, and she's like, you can either buy a Z71 with your money and you can have extra money to spend, or you can buy that Ford F-250 and have no money to spend and drive a really cool, fancy Harley-Davidson truck. And I'm like, 18 years old, give me the Harley-Davidson.
And my dad will say all the time, age fixes a lot of things.
I'm like, why didn't I buy a daggum Mazda freaking used for $1,000 and pocketed another investment? Yeah. I mean, I'd have been a millionaire by the time I was 25, 24 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, it was,
I mean, I totally get that.
my brother was trying to tell me the whole time too. He's like, bro, you could be a millionaire by the time he started telling me the age and stuff because
Yeah.
he's already in business and different things. And I'm like, that's for the birds. I want the truck,
Yeah.
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 God, wisdom,
Yeah.
I just wish I listened to wisdom more, but I was trying to, again, it goes back to, I was just living out of so much trauma and I was
Absolutely.
living out of so much hurt.
Hurt, yeah.
And what fixes hurt? Instant gratification.
Yeah.
Porn, new things, excitement, adrenaline. I was adrenaline junkie level 10.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I mean, level
The
10.
stroke kind of knocked that out of me, but I was still kind of holding on to that. And Dad'd tell you, he's like, God, he's always chasing, jump out of a plane. If
Yep.
can I? How far can I jump? I can't say how many triples that I cased on,
Yeah.
because I wanted to be the first person on a
First person to
Banshee.
hook it.
Well, when I had a Banshee four-wheeler
gosh.
and nobody was really riding
And those are
four-wheelers like
those
that.
are dangerous too, man. They
Oh,
get
and I
so
had mine jetted out and, super wide. It did about 120 miles an hour. It was ridiculous.
man.
Yeah. I got hurt really bad on it a couple times. We'll talk about it later.
I did.
I'll tell you
I
some
did.
stories.
I did too. I did too.
But anytime you case it, and I feel like I'm paying for something, and I wakeboarded a lot too, but in my body, I feel all of those things. My dad just kept telling me, he goes, eventually it's going to catch up with you. I'm like,
Just keep going.
yeah, send it.
I've got torn knees, torn shoulders.
Yeah.
Same thing. I have.
Didn't have a good time, but
Yeah. So.
paying for it now.
Oh, anyways, there I was, 19 years old, brand new truck, owned 2 houses, star football player. Life doesn't get any better. And then I tear my right shoulder playing against our rivals in the Brownwood Steveville game, which was the iconic, right? I mean,
Yeah. No, it's
Doesn't-
still big.
still big, but doesn't get any bigger than that. I mean,
Right.
it's and I wanted to be known for the baddest dude on the planet that hit guys harder and break people's necks and backs. I mean, that was my motive. My motive was if I can't break your bones, I'm not hitting you hard enough.
Right.
That whole mentality. But again, I wish I'd have just been like, I want to be a really good football player and play good football instead of having to continually live into this false reality. So anyhow, I come in, I read the play, running back's going to take a jump cut, come right down the middle, and I'm going to come from free safety running as fast as I can run, and I'm going to hit him as hard as I can hit him. I see it in my mind. I'm already 2 steps ahead of him, and I'm running, wah, and I go to leave my feet to just absolutely like iron cross him, right in my face mask in his numbers.
Yeah.
And he does a slight jump cut last second. I mean, like that. And when he does, he comes out and goes through my right shoulder,
The one you've already.
and it just
been
goes,
hitting.
whack, and it comes around and hits my back, my shoulder, my arm does.
Oh,
Well,
that tore a lot of things.
I'm just a bad man. I so right. It's just a stinger. That's just a stinger. So I mean, I literally get back up. Let's go again. And now my arm's on fire.
Yeah.
And I'm just whoa, whack. Adrenaline's taking over by now. Whack, whack. And I can't hold with my right arm. My right arm is losing strength faster and faster and faster. And so finally I walk over the sideline and I tell my coach, I said, I don't know what's going on with my arm. Something's happened to my arm. And I get over there and we go into halftime. And when we get over to halftime, the doc comes over and he picks my arm up. He's holding it sideways. He goes, all right, now don't let me drop. Don't let me push it down. And the second he lets go of my hand, it just,
Oh.
and immediately my whole world comes just crumbling.
Right.
I mean-
because you got a major injury, you don't even realize how big it is till right then.
And not only that, but that's my life.
Right.
My life that I was banking everything on to keep me alive, instantly vaporized.
Wow.
Because I wanted to win the next state championship, and I wanted to be that guy and then go play D1 football, hopefully.
That was your
And-
identity that you had built at that point.
One-
That was it.
100%.
There was no backup.
No, there was no backup, none whatsoever. And when that thing got ejected, I went spiraling. I mean, instantaneously spiraling into depression. I mean, I started drinking a case of beer a day. I mean, because I was a top elite athlete. You don't drink beer during season. You don't do drugs. You don't do anything. Like, I'm an athlete, right? And all of a sudden, I started drinking a case of beer a day, then start dabbling in weed, and I just lose all motivation for life. And about up to that point, I'd had probably 5 miscarriages as a 19-year-old, and I was done. I was like, I'm done. And I remember I took my friends to drink in Hooters up in Fort Worth, and I could grow a goatee like this at 19, so everybody thought I was like 25, 28, you know. So I never got carded when I was a kid. And so I'd buy them all beer, and next thing I know, I'm driving home, and all I can think is I'm going to hit that 18-wheeler as hard as I can. I'm out.
With people in the car?
With people in the car. And the scary thing is that when we are run by trauma and pain, we don't care.
For sure. Yeah, everybody else's pain is minimal at that moment.
Yep. And I would have never, and I was a very caring and loving person, and I loved I loved taking care of people. But at that moment, it superseded everything else. And I remember I'm about to turn that wheel. And I mean, it's the moment where it's not faking it, and I didn't say nothing about it. It's the quiet ones that don't say anything are the ones that scare me. Right? I was that guy. And I went to turn the wheel, and all of a sudden I heard a voice say, "You don't want to do this."
Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
And I knew it was him. Because I'd given my life to him early on as a young kid when my dad was alive. But I didn't really know a whole lot other than that. And I just remember, it's probably all happened in a matter of like 3 seconds, but it felt like eternity. And I just remember I had the choice to turn the wheel after I heard that. And it wasn't like a booming audible, like, it was just this in my head. I heard just a quiet voice. And I went, "You're right." And I agreed with it. I just agreed with him. And at that moment, it felt like all I can explain is like something come in the car and grabbed my hands and froze me to the steering wheel, and I couldn't move my hands anymore. And it's at that moment when God took over the moment.
Absolutely.
And I remembered, I can't tell anybody this. That's my first thought after that 18-wheeler passed.
Right.
I can't tell anybody this. They're going to chalk me up as a crazy loony bin.
Right.
And that's when I went into loneliness of like, I'm battling suicide at a deep level, and I have nowhere to go. I have no one to tell this to. Well, as fate would have it, I ended up going on to college, and all my suite mates were Bible study leaders. It's like, Lord, of course.
And I hope with this, I mean, that's part of the reason why I'm wanting to do interviews like this and do that is because people feel alone. I mean, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to, as much as I can do. I mean, that's what I was, what I've been led to do since the stroke is to make sure nobody ever feels like you were feeling right then. Carry on, though. I'm totally feeling that.
Yep.
It's an awful place to be. And it's not good when you feel alone.
Yep, it's not. It's a scary place to be. And it wasn't until I had people step out of their way to come meet me where I was. And I ended up having other guys in college invite me over to their house. And I got invited to this one place, and the guy started talking about the power of the Holy Spirit and how he can change my life. And I'm like, he goes, I was the star athlete. I did this. I did this. I mean, just basically the same as my life. And he goes, but now I love Jesus and I'm radically following him. And I was like, if that guy can do it, I'm like, I can do it.
Right.
And I had hope for the very first time. This is what the power of testimony does. Testimony gives other people hope.
Absolutely.
And I immediately had hope that I could do it. And I grabbed on full on, both hands, and just was like, I need you guys. And so my mom and I actually bought a house together, and I had all those guys move in with me.
Oh, wow, that's neat.
Because I know how bad I needed them.
Right.
And I'm like, I can't do this alone, and I don't want to be alone.
That's iron sharpening iron right there.
Boy, I tell you.
Which we're still doing today.
And we're still doing it right now, right?
Absolutely.
And so, from that moment forward, I then go on a mission trip, and in 2006, I have a radical encounter with Jesus at a dinner table. And it was at the dinner table, all of a sudden, I'm getting to do what the disciples did. I was in a third world country that had never heard of Jesus in over 100 years. And I'm there, and my feet are on the ground, and I'm a part of God's kids doing his stuff. And I still the whole time was like, why am I here? And as I'm sitting at the dinner table, I felt this rushing wind, like it talks about in Acts chapter 2, a rushing wind came and blew through their midst. And it just, I felt like it was like somebody shot me full of adrenaline. Like I said, I've done some of the most adrenaline junkie things there is in the world. Right. This topped it by 10. Mm-hmm. And it was just like,
Right.
And I go, what is this? And I hear that same voice. He says, I love you. You're my son. I want you to do this the rest of your life. And I just bawl my eyes out. Mm-hmm. I'm just weeping. I'm bawling. I'm just undone. And the missionary's like, hey, you okay, bud? Like, you all right? And I'm like, you don't understand. Yeah. I thought he hated me.
Right.
Like, I thought he hated me. Mm-hmm. You don't know me. Like I've had thoughts of murdering people. You don't understand. You don't know me.
Right.
And he told me he loved me.
Yeah.
Dude, it broke me.
And that's a true relationship of father and son. Kind of getting rekindled there. Something that you thought you had lost.
I did.
And they were giving it back right then. That's pretty neat.
So it was like the prodigal father, prodigal son journey.
Yeah.
And so then I just, as a man again, I'm like, well, the church is now the new way for me to just charge ahead. I'm a leader and I like to control things. And so, boom, take off running, speaking in front of thousands of people immediately, organizing events or organizing stuff as a young kid. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing. I just, and
you were well spoken. I mean, the stuff that I have seen even back then.
Yeah.
I have some questions, but carry on.
Yeah.
But you were very well spoken already at that point.
Yeah. And so, anyhow, I chased the dream of becoming the superstar Christian pastor, evangelist, whatever. And I wouldn't have told you that. I would have just told you I was hungry and I wanted to help people, and I genuinely did. But in the background, I was still chasing healing from trauma and pain. And unresolved pain creates great dysfunction, and you don't even know it.
Well, there's a door open there.
Yep.
And it's wide open. It's not like you got a crack in the door.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wide open to be taken advantage of.
Yep.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
I know where you're coming from on that.
And I can only tell you this now because I've gone through such a radical transformation over the last 2 years, which, I'll talk about and share as well. But, I became that guy, and I was hosting and doing some of the largest events, working with the largest speakers.
Doing some great things.
Great things, like world-class, wonderful, amazing, historic, once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. And it was incredible what Jesus was doing. But out of all of it, it wasn't until I got to the peak, the highest of highs I could get to, in my mind, right? Mm-hmm. And I got there, and that was just as scary for me as the lowest of lows. Because I know what the lowest of lows feels like.
Right.
But when you get to the peak, it's just the same as the low.
It is, yeah.
And it's scary because you're like, oh man, none of this satisfies me.
You're still empty if you're not coming from the right place.
Yes. And this was good stuff.
And totally different. Absolutely. I mean, the things I've seen that you were involved with are huge. I think you were big, instrumental and a lot of people coming to Jesus. My story is different when it comes to that. I was raised in church, but I did find a lot of satisfaction in success and wrap myself up in that over the years as well, and kind of had that as that was the center of everything that made me who I was. On top of the other, making music and the other side, but the big thing was this success in work and this money, and I'm going to get to this point. And I felt like I don't know if I ever really reached the apex of what I was looking to get, but I got really close.
Yeah.
Before I had my stroke. And anyways, I got broke. I mean, but I get that. It's like, you have everything and you're still sitting there looking at it going, all I have is more stuff,
Yeah.
but I don't have what I'm searching for. I'm still looking for there's something missing.
Something missing.
Okay.
And
yeah, that's what I was trying to get to. I had to bring myself back,
No.
reel myself back in.
No,
What was I trying to get to?
no, I was so much the same. In all of it, I just realized, and it was then, this is when the Lord spoke to me so clear. After I got off my pinnacle moment, I am playing golf with all of our staff, and I never lost against any of them up until this day. Again, stupid competitive person, and that comes from the PTSD too, because it's dumb. Anyways, so it's like, if I don't win, I'm not valuable. That's a lie. Get out of here. So, and we're playing golf, and one of them, or two of the guys, are beating me that day. And it's just in my crawl, man. I'm just like, no, sir, I don't lose. I will do whatever it takes to win. And I step up and hit this drive, probably 350 down the gut. I mean, crush one, sitting right on the edge of the green. They shank them out of bounds. So I'm like, I know I'm 2 strokes up on them. I'm about to catch up to them. And I get up there, and I'll never forget, I've got my sand wedge, and I'm just going to sand wedge it, stick it right next to the hole, and go on and eagle the hole and move on. And when I hit it, it just goes, it just freaking drags one, and I just fluff it, and it literally dribbles on the ground. And the next thing I do is I've got my sand wedge, and I'm digging a hole to China. Son of, whap, 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 whap. And all of a sudden, it was like,
That's awful.
this is a nice golf course, okay? This is like, and I am digging a hole to China.
You've had it.
I have had it, and all of a sudden, the Lord he just goes, "What are you so mad about?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh boy." Mm-hmm. And I mean, it landed on me like a ton of bricks. It scared me, and I was like, I just came off a pinnacle moment, and I'm digging a hole to China with a golf club over a golf game with my friends. And I finished the day, we played, and I got home, and my Bible lands on Psalm 51. And it's David after he just slept with Bathsheba. And in that story, he's the great man of God. He's the great warrior. He's the great king who just slept with the neighbor's wife. And not only that, the frontline warriors, the frontline warrior's wife.
Yeah, that he sent out there
to then go kill him and murder him too, and take her. I mean, just and he is rending his heart in Psalm 51. Create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit with, like, my sin is before you. And I'm bawling. I can't read. I'm crying so hard I can barely read my Bible, because I was like, I'm no different than that man right there. Here I am preaching the gospel, doing all these things, and yet my anger is so uncontrollable that I just lashed out in front of all my friends. And it was that day I wrote, create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. Then I'll teach transgressors your ways, sinners will turn back to you. Sacrifice is not what you delight in, but a broken and contrite heart you will never despise. And I just stopped right there. And I said, I don't know what you got to do to break me. And I don't know what you got to do to achieve that in me. But I want that. Mm-hmm. And I cried for 3 days.
Yeah. I told Dad, it may have been just yesterday. I said, Dad, I'm kind of tired of crying right now. And he goes, son, you're just getting started, Like he
Yeah.
said, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
still
And
do.
I still
Yeah,
I still crying. I mean, I still cry all the time,
yeah.
and it's
Such a huge thing.
it's a huge thing. And to be honest, I don't know how I'm not crying already on this
Yeah.
podcast, because normally I'm freaking losing it every time. And it's just a moment where I just said, whatever you got to do, do that. And the next thing that followed was he told me, you got to move back to Stephenville, Texas, and deal with all your pain.
And where were you at?
I was in Houston at the time,
Okay.
in Pearland. And I was like, no way. No way. And he's like, well, if you want what you just prayed for, then you need to move home and go home. And I did. And I spent the last 7 years dealing with my trauma and my pain and my dysfunction and going through healing.
When did Sarah come into your story?
Yeah, she landed in my...
And I may be jumping ahead, but you're back in Stephenville now, so I'm just trying to kind of fill that out because she's a huge part of your story too.
She's a huge part. She's what's
and
allowed.
she seems like a very strong woman.
Yeah.
And
So
if she had to put up with you,
oh
she had to
man,
have been something
the
special.
the golf course story is just a smidge of what she dealt with,
Oh wow.
and that's the scariest part. Is
Yeah.
And
if I jumped ahead, just carry on.
Nope.
I just wanted to make sure didn't seem like a good time to ask about her.
Nope. It's to be honest, I became who I am, and I am who I am in its fullest form is because of her in a lot of ways. She had to live with a trauma, dysfunctional man that everybody else saw as a hero, and she saw as a monster a lot of days. And that was hard,
I don't think that's something you ever really told. I mean, the hope is that we achieve it. I think it's part of what I'm trying to get across to people is that, and it's part of the question and that I've been leading to, even with her, but even when you seem like you have everything together, and you have the world at your fingertips, like it's just like, hey, which I felt like I was there at one point too, but what everybody doesn't see is what your wife usually does, and your family's going to deal with that, directly, and it's not really their place. If it's a good wife, I don't feel like she's supposed to be running out and talking to her friends and saying my husband's awful and all this, so they're dealing with a lot of trauma there too as well. But I kind of lost it right in there, but it just. Yeah, I want people to understand that as good as it looks from the outside, it's not always what it's cracked up to be.
Nope, not
everybody. Nope. I feel like every single person on this planet is broken in one way or another.
100%.
And if they're not broken, they're gonna be broke at some point.
100%.
Okay, that was what I was.
Yeah, so that's the if you boil it down, I think what broke me deeply, deeply broke me was when my wife caught me watching porn. And
yeah, it's a shameful moment.
And I had to own up for that one. I had to look her in the eyes and tell her the truth. And because I was self-medicating my trauma and my pain through pornography at times. And, oh man, I was just like, dude, the amount of shame and guilt you feel immediately. And then she's able to look at me and go, hey, I love you. And I love you enough to say you need to go get fixed. Not fixed, but go get healed. Like, I don't know what you got to do to get healed.
You need some help.
You need help.
Yeah.
And I did. I left and flew to a place in Wisconsin. And probably I don't know if this has got to be 4 or 5 years ago now. And I said, I don't know what y'all got to do to help me, but I need help and I can't do this anymore. And they walked me through some deep trauma stuff and allowed me to start healing. And I was able to fight from a place different at that moment of going through and realizing because of all the trauma that I'd handled through and gone through, pornography was just a coping mechanism.
Right.
It's not about looking at the pornography. It's not about the woman on the screen or the fantasy that we're trying to live in. It's just I'm trying to cope with. I feel pain and I don't want to feel pain.
Right. The same as doing drugs or even being an adrenaline junkie. All those things are fillers to a space. You know, I was talking to my friend the other day. I said, hey, I turned off my phone. I put it on silent. I like music. So music is kind of the background of my life.
Yeah.
But I turned that off too. I just felt that day that that's what I needed to do. I was in a bad spot emotionally. And I told him, I said, you know, all this stuff that we've chased forever. I said, because I really want to share some things with him. And it's a slow going process. But I said, all those things we chased, I said, I got closer to what I was looking for yesterday, not having anything connected.
Yeah.
Than I've ever been in my life. I mean, it was just that I felt so refreshed by the end of the day. Spent all day praying, meditating, exercising, walking, you know, whatever. But just spent that time very intentionally for healing. So I think it's crazy, all the stuff, that we do to the coping mechanism.
It's huge, you know, and I think in all of it, you know, I then went on a journey shortly after that of I got hurt. I got really hurt by some people in ministry. And I was like, I'm going to show them, you know, and I started operating out of another level of trauma. And golly, I just became perfectionism in my construction company and trying to build a construction company super fast overnight, you know, and started making 6 figures and then more than 6 figures and then, you know, just running a construction company. And because I had been helping my brothers and watching God, you know, do things and build stuff so fast and all the different things. But, you know, I wanted to, you know, grow $1 million construction company that I could go and, you know, do all these things for the Lord. But in all reality, it was I.
The humility wasn't there.
No.
Right.
But no, I'm going to do it, you know, and I'm going to stick it to the people that have hurt me. And I wouldn't even have said that I was operating out of pain and hurt and vengeance, but I was. And, you know, a few years down the road, I'm bedridden, sick, and I can't get out of bed. I'm so sick. I'm so tired because I'm doing men's trips and taking men's backcountry, experiencing God backcountry and watching healing and transformation take place, simultaneously running a construction company, simultaneously producing a movies.
You're giving it all away.
I've got everything I can do. I'm just like, I'm gonna do it. And I broke. I mean, I broke. And I'm laying on that couch for a month, sicker than a dog, can't get off the couch. And the Lord goes, how's this working out for you? And I'm like, dadgummit. It's like, not very good. He's like, you want to do it my way? And I'm like, I thought I've been doing it your way. He's like, I know, but you just got off a little bit there, you know.
Yeah.
You're operating out of some things that are not me.
You're going full send, but you're not going to full send that you and I were supposed to be doing together.
Yeah.
You kind of left.
You left him. I left. He's back there in the boat, and I done jumped out on the shore. You know, and so I committed to doing everything as best I knew how, His way.
Right.
And that was spending more time with my kids, being present with my kids, you know, listening to my wife, letting her go on a healing journey. She went on a healing journey because I created so much PTSD in her. You know, she's got crazy trauma, and it's this guy's majority of it. You know,
I feel like I'm dealing with the same thing. We're in the middle of a project that hopefully is going to end, you know, but Amber had no choice but to take that over when I had the stroke. And up until that point, she was just, well, I say just, I don't want to say just. She was a partner in the business, but her part of the business was making it pretty at the end. So all the things that come with construction, and you're well aware of it,
Yeah.
And for anybody that doesn't, breaking ground all the way to once sheetrock's up and you're ready to start painting, there are a lot of hurdles that happen in there, a lot of things that have to be taken care of that she was not aware of. So for her, she could walk in and she had all the designs already set out, and she knew what color it was going to be. I didn't even know what this house was going to look like when it's done, except for I knew the layout of it. I knew what I needed. I knew the materials. And it was amazing what she was able to do, but she just, she got thrown to the wolves really hard, and it was the biggest commercial contract that I had landed
okay.
up to that point there in Stephenville. And even had considered before the stroke, like, is this something I'm supposed to be doing or not? But at that point, I was still operating on me.
Yeah.
So we went full sin, you know. Anyway, she had to take it over. I kind of got off track, but she's dealt with a lot on that. And then she has dealt with even more from the way I was to her before then. And now I'm still dealing with some stuff post-stroke that she's having to deal with. And my highs are really high. My lows can get really low.
Yep.
But I spend a lot of time in prayer right now, you know, and that's one thing I'm trying to explain to her is that, and I think you can attest to this for everybody, it is a constant work in progress. It's not a, I got it all figured out. You know, that's just never going to happen. And I've kind of realized that, you know, I mean, that's the point is to try to continually get closer and do better.
Yeah.
But I've been the source of a lot of trauma for my wife as well.
It's
not something I'm proud of.
I don't, and I think obviously, you know, you and I never intentionally woke up one day and go, how much are we going to hurt our wife today?
No, absolutely
right?
not.
I mean,
and when you find out how much you did, then it's like, whoa.
Then it hurts, you know. And so we are deep headlong in the middle of both of us healing in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
And it got to the point to where, you know, I was trying to go through such a process of healing that, you know, I really felt like the Lord said, I need you to trust me with your finances. And I started selling everything. I sold all my houses. I had multiple rental properties. I had Airbnbs. And I started selling them all and just paying for all these trips and all these men's stuff and all these gatherings and all these things. And in the works on, well, you know, I know that whenever, you know, the movie gets finished, you know, I'll make it all back. It'll all come back to me. The movie goes bankrupt. And you're like, oh no. And then I was helping work on an $18 million construction project. And we were gonna hopefully finish the funding and break ground. And that was going to make it all back up. That falls through. And I went from being well off, having multiple homes, multiple things, you know, money always coming in every month, never worried about money, to broke. Like broke to the point of I don't have enough food to eat. And
we're starting from scratch. All of that.
All of it.
Easy come, easy go.
And
I'd say easy come, not necessarily, and not easy go.
Hey,
but that's that saying there. I mean, you know, it's there one day, gone tomorrow.
But talk about humbling,
man. Yeah.
I mean, my kids don't eat unless somebody drives up and brings groceries and set it on my counter.
Yeah, after always being, I feel that being the guy.
And I mean, and then I was like, all right, Lord, like, people were like, go get a job, go get a job. I started applying for jobs. I started applying for stuff that I was well overqualified for.
Right.
Nope, 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 no, 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 no. And I'm like, the heck, man? And he's like, are you sure you want to do it my way? And I'm not, now listen to me tell you, I'm not saying you've got to go broke. I'm not saying you got to give up all your money. Okay, by no means am I saying that.
I agree.
This is my personal journey.
Right.
And he's like, I just don't want your pain and trauma to run you anymore.
Thank goodness.
And I was like, man, if all this was for that, it was worth it, you know? And it's been hard. I'm telling you, this has been the hardest journey of my life. I mean, down to the point of, last December, I went back into that deep, dark depression again because I was like, I got no money. I lost all my money. I lost all my homes. This is
fresh.
This is fresh. This is like, this is December of last year, January. I mean, this is November of last year. Mm-hmm. And I was so scared that I could not even be around my pistol. That's how scared I was. And I finally had to call a friend and go, I'm afraid I'm going to put that pistol in my mouth.
I think that's why it's so important to have brothers.
Yeah.
And people that love you, surrounded by people that love you, because that moment can happen so fast. And I've lost 3 good friends over the years to suicide.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how to describe what that's like. The aftermath of that is a tough deal. One of them, I got a plaque I'm going to put up here that has his years on there. Young man, had some trauma too. Everybody does. I wasn't coming from a place at that point to be able to be a proper witness, but I was trying to be a mentor to him. Even though I was there for him,
Yeah.
I mean, I ended up getting a phone call that happened on the phone call. I dealt with that personally for years after that. Like at that time at night, I would wake up like something was going to happen again. But yeah, so I mean, I totally get that moment in time right there, and thank God that you're a believer.
Well, I just think, I mean,
and
again, I mean, this is like, obviously at 19, like I thought I'd whipped it at 19.
Right.
And
Just
here I was at 39.
Yeah.
And yes, I've lived a very great life, mm-hmm. and I have loved it more than level 10. But this last year, it was so different. And I after, I mean, I said, Lord, I need help. And all of a sudden I had my phone rang. I don't know how many weeks in a row from men that I'd poured my life into.
There you go.
Call me. Are you okay?
That's awesome.
The Holy Spirit told me to call you. Are you okay? And I'm like, I'm not okay. Yeah. I'm not okay. And I'm bawling on the phone.
Right.
I'm broke. My kids can't eat. Thank God they're eating, and they are, and people show up, and we have friends that are helping us, and family that's helping us, but I'm not okay, and it was one after another. Finally, another friend of mine took me up to our cabins in Montana. We have an organization called Irons in the Fire, where we opened up cabins for men to go find help and healing and to be restored, in the cabins. And it's beautiful. It's one of the coolest places on earth.
I need to get some of that information from you when we get done. That way we can put links to that.
You're going to come. You're going to come with me. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be great.
Yeah.
I would love to be part of that. Yeah. And any information, anything you got going on like that, I definitely want to support. And get behind. And maybe there's some people. I know there's some people that would be interested that are already watching this podcast that will be watching this, down the line. So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
And so, anyways, one of the board members of the movement, I myself needed to go to the cabin and find the healing.
Because everybody needs
Because,
help.
oh, man, it doesn't matter who we are, man. The devil sucks.
Oh, yeah.
He just sucks, and he finds a crack to get in your life, And the only thing that saved me was my friends and my brothers, guys that have gone to war with me in the spirit and war with me in life. And they go, man, you've got to get up here. And I mean, I'm crawling on my hands and knees, to get to that cabin.
Right.
And I get there, and we are in God's creation. It's beautiful. We're listening to the river. The river runs right through the property. There's mountains surrounding us, and I'm sitting there at the table just like I was when I was 19. And we opened up communion. And as we're about to take communion, I just see Jesus again. And it was enough. It was just enough. He's right there with me. I'm not alone. Never been alone. Mm-hmm. Not for a day in my life I've been alone. I just needed to see him. Mm. And when I did, it was just like, I'm okay. Yeah. I'm okay. And my brothers were there with me, and we all prayed together, and they prayed for me. And I said, man, I just don't want to partner with any of this no more. I don't want to partner with bitterness. I don't want to partner with anger. I don't want to partner with suicide. I don't want to partner with, I just said stuff. I don't want this stuff. I don't want it. Jesus, I need you again. Mm-hmm. I need you again fresh today like I did the day I gave my life to you at 5. I need it again today. And I woke up into this I'm going to fight today. I'm going to get up today. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get on my knees today. I'm going to read his word. I'm going to worship. I'm going to live a life of gratitude and joy and thankfulness. And, that was January, the beginning of this year, January 6th.
I think it's a survivor's battle cry. I mean, you may not look at it as you're a survivor, but honestly, in my opinion, you are a survivor of multiple things, not just the fateful moment that started that in your life, but to get to now and know where you need to be, starting all over again.
Yeah.
That's a survivor's battle cry, to put your faith in Jesus and to know that you're going to do what it takes to be closer to him, to do what we need to be doing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's much different than anybody's journey, whether you're, in my case, a stroke survivor or a TBI survivor or rape survivor, all of these, things that are eventually going to be, conversations that'll be had right here.
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah.
Everybody deals with trauma in different ways, but there is a survivor's credo in there. Man, that's awesome. I'm so glad you came in today. I mean, I really am. That's because you're telling, this is what was I hopeful for.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's for that.
Yep. And now, we're working towards, we just had 24 men at my house gathering together praying for a revival for men. Cool. So we don't lose another man.
Yeah.
We can't lose another one.
No.
And we just can't.
I feel like there's a powerful movement of young men right now growing. Yeah. I think you're right 100%. We can't afford to lose them. They're more precious now than they ever were. And probably always been precious. We're all children of God. I think that it, probably more than anything right now is something that I have to be. It's written on the refrigerator in the house for me. I was a very arrogant, self-centered person also before the stroke. So the reminder has to be there constant for me that we're all children of God. When I look at somebody It was always like I have a gift. I've been told I have a gift of discernment. I feel like I do.
Yeah.
People tell me things I don't really want to hear, or maybe I'm not comfortable with
Yeah.
for many years, my whole life. Random in grocery stores. Like we're
Yeah.
gonna have these random conversations with somebody that I don't know, and they're gonna tell me something that I'm kind of like, oh, am I okay? You want to tell that to? My dad's laughed for many years. He's like, son, he said, you have something special. You just have to you're going to have to soak into it, and realize what that is. But the, when it helps me to remember that phrase daily
Yeah.
when and have empathy for everybody, including myself, and just realize that the way I'm treating that person or the way that I look at that situation, that God has his hand in that.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
So for me to be coming at it ugly and be selfish and do those things, I'm basically just throwing it right in his face. So the
Yeah.
inevitable thing is that we will get shown the truth,
Yeah.
no matter how bad that may hurt.
Yeah. And then the truth will set you free.
Yeah.
And that's where, same for me. All of a sudden my wife looked up and tell me, hey, you're not as great as you think you are. All my friends kept telling me, you're not as great as you think you are.
That hurts.
And I'm like, dang, I am not very great, am I? And you're just like, dadgummit, Lord help me. I need help. And help
Every
me.
day.
Yeah, literally every day.
Hour, every second.
Yeah.
It only takes all of those things. The same, when we were talking about the suicide or any of these thoughts, it only takes a second for that to come back in.
Yep.
And or to forget.
Yeah.
It's easy to, especially the bad habits that we created over time. Those are hard things to break.
Yeah.
Because you do know you're able to get, like, if I put my eyes on that and that's what I want, if I push really, really hard, probably can get to that goal.
Yeah.
But it can also be taken away from you just like that if it wasn't in the plan.
Yeah.
So
no doubt.
I think you and I both have been showed very clearly a couple of times. Probably will be shown again. I don't, unfortunately, I don't. It's just
part of it.
Yes, I think it's a grow, learn, get knocked down, grow, learn, get knocked down.
Yeah.
Just to keep the humility where it needs to be, in all of us.
Yeah.
Just in my journey, I've lost some. Feel like they'll find out right now that I feel like I've lost some friends.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the same things that I had to offer before, and what I do have to offer now makes people a little uncomfortable. Because I'm basically at this point, most I got to offer anybody is love, and understanding, and a listening ear, and that's not anything of what my story was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can only imagine for you, after watching, it's easy to see the progression. We were talking about it before we started today, of all the very monumental things you've been involved with, things that were instrumental in your growth along the way. But that's a lot of weight for one man to bear on and carry on his own. It's just, and it's eventually will lead to you breaking. There's just no way.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
With what you had going on, so many things.
Yeah.
And way impressive. And I was, once I actually started looking and reading, because I met you at church, and I was like, man, and we clicked really quick.
Yeah.
But I had no idea what you had done before. And then, I'm sitting there watching all this, and I'm kind of partially starstruck for a minute. And then I had to remind myself, I'm like, remember the conversation that we had, that you're just another guy, just like me.
I am.
That we have a lot of similar interests and goals, which is awesome. I think that's why we hit it off so quick. But yeah, it was hard not to kind of get starstruck and see how quick you can get lost in that.
Yeah.
In that success and that kind of fame.
Yeah.
Fame.
Yeah. Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. And and that's why I have a heart to, speak with men, whether you've killed it and you've won it in the world and whatever it is, from championships to money to, you think you got the best wife and kids on the planet to whatever, doesn't matter, or you're broke, or you're from, Haiti, and have nothing to your name and have lost everything. I mean, we're all in the same place. We need Jesus. We just need him. And I need him. I need him again and again and again and again. And that's why I don't view myself as any different than anybody else anymore. I mean, I just don't. I just know that, dang it, if I need him every day, I know someone else needs him every day. And whatever I can do to help someone see him, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a TV show, whether it's just mopping the floor at church when nobody's there.
Right.
Right.
And there's no one there to see it.
Nobody there to see it. I mean,
that's very biblical. And I mean, there's a lot of instances in that you pray like everyone's watching when no one's watching.
That's right. And there's many nights that I, or I'd say mornings, not as much at night, but there's many mornings where I'm in my cave. I have a cave at my house, basically, kind of thing. It's like, it's a big, Kwanzaa hut.
Right.
And I sit in it and I pray and I cry, because I need it. And some days I'm in there for 30 minutes and some days I'm in there for 5 hours. And I don't come out of that cave some days until I'm ready, because I know the world's going to come at me the second I step out that. I mean, some days of the day I wake up and it's already coming at me.
Oh, yeah.
And if I can't recenter my heart on him and his presence, and realize that Jesus is with me right now, he's sitting right here at this table, this table with us. He's sitting right here. And he hopefully is what you're going to see on the other side of this. I hope you hear his voice enough. I hope you hear that my testimony is I am saved by Jesus, and I'm going to be saved by Jesus, and I'm continually saved by Jesus. And everything I have accomplished in life is because of him.
Absolutely.
I just was following his voice. All the stuff I've done in life, I just was following his voice. And I've looked up, and like you said, I've got to accomplish a lot of things in life. But I genuinely, half the stuff I didn't want to do it. I didn't. I just was like, okay, you said go, and I'm going to go, and then it ended up turning into something cool. And you're like, oh well, I'd have said yes 100 times if you'd have told me that's what it was going to be.
Yeah, but that's not the whole.
But that's
point.
how he gets it. But that's how he does it. He just is like, I just need to know you're going to trust me. Will you trust me? And the same thing with all the men's stuff. I mean, we have lodges and locations all over America. I even, that we have a private executive trip in Alaska where you go on an Alaskan yacht, and go backcountry in Alaska.
Wow.
There's
go back country again. I'm sure trying really hard right now. That's like I love being out and backpacking and backcountry. But I got a pretty good uphill battle to fight to get back to that point. I went with Thomas the other day and we walked.
Did you go hiking with him?
Went hiking on the trail, and I got humbled pretty quick on that deal. Actually, I didn't realize. I got some vestibular issues, and once I start getting to a certain point, then everything just starts swirling. It's hard for me to describe that to anybody except for it's kind of like being really drunk.
Yep.
You've ever been really drunk without any of that? It just like when the room won't stop spinning. That's what it's like when it happens.
Like a vertigo, almost, right?
It is kind of like vertigo. So
okay.
I fell, and he had to pick me up, and then I knocked my dad over, and I fell 2 or 3 times. It'd be just like, I can get this. I got it, Super humbling. We sat there, had an awesome moment. We were at the spot that Thomas wanted to take us to. Prayed and had some really good conversation there. But it was, we talking about backcountry, and it just kind of was an eye opener for me. I'm like, oh, I'm not there yet. I thought I was. I'm not there. Not even close.
I did that elk. I did that elk hunting this year. Took my nephew elk hunting, and there's an elk 1,000 yards straight up the mountain.
Oh, it looks like it. It's just right there.
Oh no! I knew.
You do?
No, I saw it. I said that's 1,000 yards up there. Or 1,000 foot, whatever. I don't remember what it was. It's a long ways. Okay, and it's like this. I'm talking.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
My nephew's like, I'm gonna get him, and I'm like, gosh almighty. I was like, all right, because if you're going, I got to go too, because
Yeah.
I can't leave. You're not going to go chase him alone. And I get all the way up to the top. I'm within 100 yards of this 6x6 monster.
Wow.
His cows are like 10 foot from me.
Yeah.
And it gets dark. And I can't close the gap. But my knee just like explodes.
Oh.
And I'm 1,000 foot up on the side of a mountain. And I got to go down.
Yeah. That's harder on your knee than going up.
The pain I experienced coming down the mountain. I thought, there's at one moment I'm like, I'm not going to make it. I'm genuinely not going to make it.
Be a statistic.
I'm about to die on the side of a mountain and be eaten by wolves.
That's a pretty natural way to go out.
Yeah, I was like, well, dadgummit, if I'm going to die, I guess, but just.
That's a story.
But humbling.
Yeah.
I just thought, oh, yeah, I can do it. And all of a sudden, I was immobilized and.
I think it's almost a good parallel right there with almost anything. You have a mountain to climb.
God.
Full send, going up, get up. Realize that you need help getting back down.
Oh, I needed help. I was crying out to him. I'm like, Lord, if you don't get me off this mountain.
This doesn't sound much different than our life has been.
Man.
The same thing. It's like you hit that apex and get there and then kind of get screwed up. Yeah. And then you need help to get back down. Get back to reality.
Yeah. And then I limped all the way back home. And
Man.
I sat there with an ice pack on my knee and
I'm sitting here rubbing my knee thinking
about it. Yeah. I was just sitting there with that ice pack on my knee. And what ended up really being cool was I got to hang out with another good friend of mine for 2 days.
Cool.
And
it's always beautiful. It's more fun to be up there, but sometimes it's just as nice to be at the bottom. It's just as nice
to be down at the
bottom. My dad's like, I'm not going up there with y'all, He's like, I'll stay right here where it's warm.
I love your dad. I love your dad. I love your dad.
Oh, man. Me too. I'm very fortunate to have him.
Well, I love him.
I don't know where we're at on time. We can go as long as you got. I know we probably got, you got some things to do today. One thing that we hadn't talked about, I did want you to talk about was the table story and the table.
Yeah.
It's everything I've listened to that's super inspiring as well.
Yeah. And you've heard it through my story. I met him at the table at 19 and I met him at the table again at 39.
Yeah. Which we talked about.
Yep. And Jesus uses the table to change the world. Mm-hmm. The table, what the table does for you and I is we all sit at the table and we're no different. Whether you're worth $1 billion and I'm worth nothing, whether you're famous and I just came off the streets, no matter where we all come from, we all sit at the table and we're brothers. And that's what I love about Jesus. Look at the misfit ragtag group of guys that he put at the table with him.
Right.
Not only that, he put the enemy at the table that was going to end up selling him
out. Yeah.
Like, he could have used anything in the world to change the world. Mm-hmm. He is the creator of the world, and he chose to use the table to do it. And there's something powerful about when all of us dudes sit down and we get vulnerable and honest, just like what we've been doing today. Mm-hmm. We've been vulnerable. We've been honest. We're not trying to hide behind some mask. Hey, I'm really hurting. I'm not doing okay. I need help. It's crazy how fast that table will begin to lend itself. And Jesus will work through the other guy on the other side of the table, and he'll go, man, I've been through the same thing too.
It was not by intention at all, but I shared a picture with Amber probably a week and a half ago. She's actually having the table made. That's what we're actually gonna have a table in here, and that's what we're gonna do the podcast. So I had interest in you saying that because it did. Just 2 weeks ago, I told her, I said, I think I need a table. I can't get comfortable where I'm at. I was like, a table just seems like it would work better for this. And I showed her a picture. So
how about that?
Yeah,
how about that?
Well,
we started
that
doing
makes sense. It makes more sense to me now.
Yep. Well, we started doing table gatherings, everywhere. And I gather men around the table, again, like I said, around the country. I just had 24 men gather at my house around the table. And we prayed, broke bread together, sought the Lord, and God showed up powerfully, through everybody.
Is this a word of mouth kind of more of a ministry type deal, or is there something?
Yeah,
that
as of
people
right
can
now, I
plug
mean, we don't.
into?
Yeah, it's a very loose structure of there's guys going after this all over the country right now that I'm involved with. There's actually a table that's being erected 2 miles long in Washington D.C. in October,
Oh wow,
which
that's
is
cool. Yeah,
it's going to
that's an
be
awesome thing.
it's wild. And so.
So if anybody does have a question of how they would start that, they can
Yeah, you just
reach
get it.
you
Yep, just get in contact with me.
Okay.
Through my social platforms that you'll have.
Yeah, we'll share all that.
And I'm in the middle of launching a new nonprofit called the Table Men.
Oh, cool.
So that there can be a lot more organizational structure to all this.
Right.
I have literally been pioneering it for the last 7-8 years. I don't want to be, I don't want to do something and put it out there unless I know it's vetted, deeply trusted, and it works.
Right.
And it does. It works miracles of what just. And too, I want to say to this, it's not just men. You hear me talk about men a lot because it's
Right.
my deep passion. But it's your family. It's getting around the dinner table. We've lost that in America. Just sitting around the table going, "How was your day today? What's your highlight? What's your low light?" Like that's one of our favorite things to do at the dinner table. What's your highlight? What's your low light?
That's cool.
And you get to hear how the day went. And so it's not just, "Hey, let's eat. Let's, all right, but how was your day? And then we'll let one of the kids pray, or I'll pray. I mean, whoever wants to pray. But it just sets an opportunity to face-to-face talk. We don't do that well anymore because of phones.
No, that's what I'm saying. And we just started probably, for sure since I had the stroke. It changed everything, the whole way I look at time and life in general. But there's no TV happening at my house anymore to dinner. We used to do that all the time. You just watch, there's a background. We may not actually even be watching it, but there was that background noise. And then there may be phones. Well, now I'm like, none of that's happening. We're going to sit right here. I don't care if we have anything to talk about.
Yep.
We're just going to look at each other. If we don't have anything to talk about, then we're just going to stare at each other and, they'll be uncomfortable. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're not going to have the other distractions when we're sitting at the table. So I love that. That's awesome.
It's been a game changer for us. Yep. We do daddy-daughter trips and father-son trips, and that's the way we do the table time.
Right.
And we get to talk through all what it means, to be a dad, what it means to be a father, what it means to be a son, what it means to be all the things. And then if you go to the church, Jesus built his church around a table. And I think we've messed up pretty bad, and we've elevated the pastor, preacher, man of God over the common goal of us being together.
I think that's for me, being raised in church. Every time the door was open, my dad was a deacon, my mom, both of them were youth ministers.
Yep.
I mean, it was a constant thing. For me, I went very far away from it, but it's because of that elevation of men, and I couldn't understand how they could be a man could be put on such a pedestal that it would destroy your faith if that man fell.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I definitely had a hard time swallowing what my parents believed and following that.
Yeah.
And I just rededicated my life. I mean, I'm 48.
Yeah.
So more than 30 years of my life, I was spent just trying to chase something else. But that is where it was rooted in that whole thing of elevating men to a platform.
Yes.
That they really
shouldn't be. Yeah.
And that's why there's so many mental health problems with men.
Yep.
And we're not talking about just preachers or men in your circumstance, just in general.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
it's tough.
we are supposed to be the spiritual leaders of our family, but we're not meant to do it alone. And the way that society has built it at this point is that it's every man for himself kind of deal. I talk about it a lot on this podcast and then outside of it. Just the way that our society deals with older people, the way we deal with men, and the way that men are meant to deal with it. And I know we're talking a lot about men's ministry stuff, but Sarah does some women's ministry
She
stuff
does.
as well, right?
Yeah, she
that
does.
was another thing I wanted to hit before we ran out
Yeah,
of
she
time.
does, and she's working through, helping women work through their trauma and their pain, and making space for them to really meet them where they're at. She was a stay-at-home mom. She never worked throughout most of it. She was the designer in our construction company as well. She was the one that made everything pop and sizzle, and
the pretty is
the
what we
pretty
always-
pretty and the
that's what we always
organized.
said, yeah.
I am make it look dysfunctional in a hurry. So
Yeah, I was the sticks and bricks, and Amber was the pretty. That's
Yeah.
how we always said
Yeah.
it. But.
So so she was a school teacher as well, but just me alone. Like if you just want to take being able to handle me and my trauma and pain, golly, she can handle anybody. To be honest, because as y'all you've heard my story. Golly, I'm one heck of a mess, and so she is profoundly gracious and kind and loving and tender, and is able to navigate people's pain with them in a way that just she's done it with me. And like I say, I am who I am because of her in a lot of ways.
And I think mothers for sure. Once a woman has become a mother, they're special. There's something that they are able to do that nobody else can.
Nope.
That's something very special about them. I just wanted to make sure, and before we signed off, for sure, talk about that, because I know we've talked a lot about men's health.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trauma on the other side of women's health as well. I don't think either one of us necessarily can be the ones to have that. But I'm hoping that we have some more conversations and I can bring some more women on, as time goes on to be that person for somebody else when they're needing that.
Yep. 100%. It's so needed. America's done a really good job at isolating everybody.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And we
it's
gotta
only
stop.
getting worse.
We got to stop that. That's
Well, it's not just America. Technology in general.
Well, yes.
And we're, there's some hypocrisy there because we're using a lot of technology right now to make this happen. But I do feel like we have to use this to be able to get the message out, and it actually can be a tool or it can be a hindrance.
And that's what I mean. I mean, it's either a hammer or it becomes a hammer in the toolbox.
Right.
And it's vital for what we're doing here.
Absolutely.
But if we live in it and we stay in it, and we don't ever come out of it, and we don't do. Even this the interaction face to face right here. This is so rich for me,
right.
Getting to sit down with you and hear your story as well, more and more, and seeing what God's doing in all of this. This gives me more courage to keep doing what I need to do. Mm-hmm. Watching you do what you're doing just makes me want to go back out there and go, nope, I got to keep going, and I got to keep giving a voice to it.
Absolutely.
Say a bunch of things on this microphone. I don't want to tell a whole bunch of random people.
Right.
Just be honest. A lot of things I say today that it's like, I don't want that to come out of my mouth.
No, for sure. Well, and I hoped that it would be an open area where we could breathe some of those things out.
Yeah.
For sure. It's uncomfortable for me. I got some deficits and stuff. So it took a minute, Amber was like, really? That's what you're going to do when it came about that this is what I thought my calling was. And I said, yeah, that's what I think I'm going to do, and I'm talking to the speech therapist, which I had them both on last week. I had some multiple issues. They loved it though, and the content was great.
Come on.
It was so fun to laugh with them. They were very uplifting. I can't speak enough volumes about Baylor's system, which I get my credentials next week. Next week, which will allow me to be able to go in. I probably tell the story over and over again on podcasts. People get tired of hearing it, but I'll be able to go into rooms and hopefully share with others and meet them where they're at.
Yeah.
Like what happened to me.
Yeah. 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 Man.
So super excited.
Special. It's special.
Yeah. Don't give up on your thing. I think you were given a gift, And if it's a gift of gab, then it's a gift of gab, whatever it may be. But
Yeah.
people need to be able to have somebody that will pick up, that's not afraid to pick up the torch and run with it, that they can get behind, hopefully, or run beside,
Yeah.
and know that. And that doesn't mean that, from everything we talked about today, that you have to be running that alone.
Yeah.
Because you're not.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
You may drop it 20 times,
Yeah.
But if you got, first of all, you got Jesus with you. And the other hope is that you got a brother with you,
Yeah.
or multiple brothers with you. Like, hey, yeah, I'm tired too. I just dropped that thing. Hey,
Yeah.
Can you pick that up back there?
Please.
Hey, throw that back up to Jake whenever you get done with it.
Please.
Jake he'll be rested up by then and he can take the torch again. Right?
It's exactly, and that's the truth. Honestly, that is the truth. And that's the only way I made it to this podcast.
Yeah.
Is that I had brothers literally pick up the torch and hand it back to me.
That's awesome.
And they said, we need you to carry the torch. And that's ultimately what I'm headed towards for May of 26 is a stadium gathering, because we're going to set the table in the stadium.
Oh, cool.
And,
here in Stephenville?
Here in Stephenville.
At the
Tarleton
high school?
State.
Tarleton. Oh, wow. That's great.
So I'm in the works on that right now and putting all of it together, and spend the next year doing regional gatherings. And I'm going to do men's tour across America.
Okay, so you are getting strike it back up.
We are striking it back up, and
awesome. That's great news.
Yeah, it is. And I'm thoroughly excited to see what God's about to do, because it's going to take everybody. It's going to take every man to link arms to go after this thing, because what I believe is coming is a revival in men like we've never seen before. And my hope is that it's all of us, the broken, downcast, no good, whatever, just coming together, banding together and going, come hell or high water, we're going to fight for each other. We're going to fight for health. We're going to fight for wholeness, and we're going to win this war. And the devil's not going to have the last word. Culture's not going to have the last word. Systematic neutering is not going to have the last word.
Yeah, no joke.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's good to be a man, and it's good to be manly, and it's good to have masculinity, and it's, we're not toxic masculinity. We are a man, and when a man shows up, people are protected, they're loved, there's security, and we need our men, to be backed again. We need our firefighters and our police and our military, the guys that sacrificed their life. I mean, I wear this belt right here because my grandpa was one of the few survivors after Guadalcanal. One of the most horrific wars, of American history. He's eating grass. I mean, he's eating, crickets and different things to survive. Shot 3 times, and survives. And I wear his belt to remember I'm fighting for this man.
Right.
I wear this belt buckle to fight for my dad, who died from suicide. I wear this buckle to fight for Scotty Chu, who ended his life too early. This is something that I believe so deeply in, because it's affected me so deeply.
Absolutely.
And it's something that I'll fight it till the day I die.
Absolutely, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Fight that fight with you. I hope I get. That's another thing I pray for daily, is the strength to keep carrying on.
Yeah.
The humility that I keep talking about.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful to get to where I'm at. Even to be here, to be able to talk with you today.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing for me. To have my words most of the time, and to be able to talk clearly. I mean, all these things are miracles. There's no doubt. And I haven't shown it. Like I was telling you before we started recording, I'm about to start showing all the pictures and the things. I wish I'd have documented a little more, but I had a lot of pride then.
Yeah.
And I requested that there weren't a lot of videos from my family and my wife and everybody, and they respectfully followed those wishes.
Wow.
I say commands, because I was kind of a commanding person still, before I got totally realized what was going on, and was humbled in a way I can't ever describe. But I won't give up that fight anymore now. So I was given this back. I'm here with you today.
It's time to go.
Yeah, I'm ready to roll full
And
send.
you're doing it, and I'm doing it.
Yeah.
We're doing it.
Yeah.
We're doing it.
Yeah. So, if I pick up, drop the torch, will you pick it up for me?
Listen, I'll be the first one to throw it back to you.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, so it's like them flying geese, them flying geese. Someone takes the lead, and the next one rolls to the back.
Right.
And that's all that's happening right now is just we're all just going, whoever's getting behind. That's why I wanted to come here and do this podcast.
Yeah.
It's for me to get here and just go, man, keep going, doing what you're doing. We need your voice. We need you. We need what you're saying. Your story matters greatly. And it's okay to not be okay. And that's what you say. And that's what you carry. And that's your voice. And it's so needed right now. And that's why immediately I just, I loved our time together when we met each other at church. And it was just like, I don't know. I don't even know who you are. Yeah. But all I know is you're carrying something that men need to hear. Yeah. And I want to get behind that as much as I can.
Awesome.
So thank you for having me here and letting me get to share and be a part of what you're doing, because it's changing lives.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it. Was there anything else that you wanted to hit on before we called it today?
Man, I think we done whooped it pretty good,
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just looking forward to it. Anybody, like I say, any of you guys that are watching this and you want to be involved in anything that we're doing as well, and getting on, learning and growing and developing as a man, and seeing how God can use you, would love to help you in any way I can, and be a part of your story of what God's going to do at your table with your family, the table with your business, and the table at your church you're in. So if there's any way that my story or my life can help you in any way, I'd love to do that, and be a part of that. So,
all right, we'll put all your information down in the links below. Yep. And make sure and like and subscribe. I really need y'all to get out and subscribe so we can get the word out to more, and share it. Yeah, thank you. Well, appreciate it, brother. Oh, just knock that
I just knock it right out of the way. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I love you. Thank you very much.
Love you, bro. Appreciate it.
Have a good one.